All right, this video is going to be taking a look at the optional items that show up at toward the end of Utility Shed Design Guide Part 2 for CEA core training. Just a few little things to add in, things that I usually do with my students. So what you can do is if you double click on the floor plan, you can add an interior room by selecting wall. And a lot of times under the wall type, I will choose a partition wall. So a partition wall allows you to go through, again, it's a non-load bearing wall. Doesn't hold any weight, just goes through and separates different rooms. And for here, I'm gonna do a 4 7/8 inch partition. So here, if I wanted to separate a little room, I could click and you notice that it'll snap to the middle of the wall. If I go here, I get blue lines. It will automatically go through and create the joinery that is needed to join those walls together. And I can also go in here and once I right click and say cancel a couple times, I can also add in another door. Maybe I want to go with a single flush, maybe a 34 by 80, and then change my wall type. So any of those types of things that you can do. The other thing that I'm going to do that we have as well is if you click on component, I do this with my students quite a bit. This adds in a lot of components that make things kind of interesting for students. So here, there's a few items that are loaded like a desk and a parking space and trees and picture frames and stuff like that. But what I like to do is go into load family. And since I was in title blocks, I'm going to go back up to the U.S. Imperial Library. There's a lot of different items in here. I kind of give them time to look through some different things. So like here's furniture. So if you double click, there's some beds and things like that. So you can go ahead and, like here, if I want to load a bunk bed, I can load that. It'll load in there. If I press the space bar, it'll flip it 90 degrees, that item. And then I can go ahead and kind of place that in there as well. So that's really what you end up having as you do that. So as you click, there's your bed that would be in there. After you're done, if you wanted to rotate this or anything, you can select this item. Here's the rotate button. Select rotate, and then like if you wanted to turn this at a certain degree, like maybe you don't want it to be facing at 90 on edges or anything like that, and that's going to be what you end up seeing there. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Control Z, but you can also hit space bar and that'll flip 90-degree increments of different items around. So this point in in this project, I usually let the students have a little time to kind of play around and see what's in the Imperial Library. Let them have some fun to see what's around, but also let them learn a little bit about what it is to come up with a different design and things like that. So there's all kinds of different stuff in here. One thing I will show you is, for example, in that same furniture case, you will end up seeing that there is a TV stand. So I'm going to go ahead and place the TV stand in here. I'm going to kind of place it where it's going to be kind of somewhat. So if I select the item, I go up to the modify panel, rotate, and if I do, here we go. Let's do a 45 degree. I can also type in 45 and hit enter. So that'd be like a 45 degree kind of catty corner this TV stand. And what kids want to do is they want to put a TV on the TV stand. So I'll load a family, pick up the flat screen TV from the Imperial Library, and here's what will happen. Same kind of scenario. Let me go ahead. I'm going to put that TV right on the stand. I'm going to hit escape a couple times, select the TV. Let me rotate it 45 degrees, just like the stand itself. But here's the thing that I'll show you is, and you can tell something's kind of not right as you go along. So here's the shed. What I like to do is you can hide the roof. So I usually like to do the eyeglasses, temporary hide and isolate. And I'm going to say to hide element. And here is where that can be hidden. And there we go. So while I've got this on, you can hide the different elements. So I'm going to hide this wall as well. Click the sunglasses, hide element, and you can keep adding. So here's what happens. The TV is on the same level. The bottom of the TV is set to be on the same level as the stand. So there's a couple ways we can change this. One will be that you end up having offset from host. So offset from host, if you do 2 feet and say apply, that will bump up the TV stand from being higher. One thing that you'll see though is it is kind of floating up in the air. So usually what I like to do is I'll select the TV, use the align tool, select the top of the TV stand, select the bottom of the TV, and then now the TV sits on top of the stand. I lock it into place, and now they go through and can't be changed. So that's really something that kind of happens quite a bit. So you do got to pay attention to levels. So now everything looks a lot better that way. Whoops. And you're kind of seeing that. Now when I use the temporary hide isolate, when I choose the little eyeglasses, I say reset, and then that brings everything back. So I find that to be a little bit nicer, and and it's a little bit easier because kids sometimes will hide things and then they can't find them later. So I'm going to go and change this over to realistic, and just to give that kind of look. So that's a little bit with adding interior walls and adding different components in, letting kids have their having a little bit of a fun time there. And the next video we'll take a look at will be looking at a site plan, another optional component. That'd be another fun thing for kids, adding site plan components, planting and things like that, which kind of plays into the affordable home project later.